So it is thundering outside, so I might not even be able to work out. And the nice thing about this camera as well is that I don't have to keep on adjusting lighting, like touching here, touching there, whatnot. Well, when I touch certain places, it goes a bit lighter and what have you, but the lighting just kind of stays all throughout. It does not shift, and so I'm not distracted like all the time. Yeah, that's the nice thing about it. I hope that I'm going to be able to exercise today, but if it rains, I won't be able to. It's starting to thunder. I don't know if you can hear that, but I certainly will be able to get this message out, because the Lord is gracious. He's amazing, and he has given me a recording device that doesn't give me problems. Like, praise God. I went to go and check in my gallery to see if my videos saved, and yes, they did. So let's go on right ahead and tell you explain to you what dreams I got last night. You know, guys, I've got a very evil family. I have an evil family, but my family members are like pretty much South Africa. Yesterday I spoke about how it is that South Africa is as good as dead. It is damned, it is judged because of its stance with Israel, its abandonment, its severance of diplomatic ties with Israel, that it just basically is a done country. It's done for. It's done. Like, it's over for South Africa. Absent of a miracle that will change the mind of our leadership, this country is on a trajectory for hell. It is on a trajectory for death, and collectively as a nation, it is about to die, but for a remnant that God is going to save for his own purposes. All right. Well, I do live in South Africa. That is my country. Perhaps that might be the issue, the challenge on the land that you live in too, but what my family members are is basically a sample representative or representation of South Africa. My family members are a sample representation of Afrika du Sud, of Mzansi. Yeah, that's my family. All right, and my family being the sample representation of the nation that is South Africa. You can therefore gauge Ndefela using a tuning fork or some kind of a speculative device like a compass, I don't know, a litmus test, anything at all, a temperature, a gauge, all up in your grill. You can gauge from my family's nefarious activity the true state of South Africa as a land altogether. It is utterly impossible for me to be the only individual living in a country, right, that has got literally almost every single family member involved in the occult. It's impossible. I cannot be the only one. I'm not special. Do you understand? My case is not unique at all. I am not the only one. I know it is an epidemic in especially the black community, but I am pretty aware that Indian people are very heavy into witchcraft too, just like black people, almost as much, if not as much as black people. I have had sorcery that I was slapped with by how many of them? Like perhaps the two white men have put witchcraft on me. It's not that prevalent in the white community. The one white guy, it was for career purposes. He was competing. It was a gay guy that was somehow strangely converted to Islam. I don't know how it was working out for him to be gay and still Muslim. And then the other white guy that did this to me was a dude that had a crush on me, that felt passed up, or that felt like I just walked right by him, not responding at all, and I was afflicted by that. However, most of the witchcraft that I have been slapped with has come from black people, followed number 2 closely by Indian people. Okay, the country is made up of, I guess, all of these races, but the 4 main recognized races in South Africa are black, white, colored, and Indian. And every so often, Asians or the Chinese, the South and North Koreans will be incorporated and bunched together in the previously disadvantaged group that is Indian for the purposes of census and statistics, etc. There were not enough of them to give a whole category to them, right, in the new South Africa as we were coming out of apartheid. But they have increased in number quite significantly, enough for them to, I guess, be given the same status as Indian people. But yeah, so basically we've got some Asians, Indians, who to a certain extent are also Asian, but not entirely, right? And then there's coloreds, and then there's blacks, and then there's whites. And out of those groups of people, black people are prolific with sorcery, followed closely, if not at the same scale, as Indian people. And then there's everybody else. Everybody else just falls into everybody else. But despite that, the level of sabotage is prominent across all races, because people are afflictors of one another just because they can, and that's what they do. Because of the observation of the defeatism of black people, everybody has basically rode that bandwagon where it is that good black people, in other words, black people that are good at what they do, black people who are skilled in any regard, if they're intelligent and so are academics at school, or black people that are really good at what they do in corporate, in the office, in the business arena, they have got those who compete with other people generally. Like if you are competing with a person at all in this country that is South Africa, those who compete with black people use the defeatism of black people against them. So somebody that has a competitive little blood, like, you know, infection against me, for instance, would use the fact that black people are so destructive of each other, even to the point of using witchcraft. So I basically fell splat on the ground thanks to those who are competing with me for career or whatever across all races. Irrespective of their race, there was competition with me by people who felt like I was a rival in whatever regard. Do you understand? Yeah. And they used what black people do to each other. They used it. They thoroughly climbed the bandwagon of black people's propensity towards throwing each other off cliffs and throwing one another underneath a bus. All right. One of my former boss, some white chick, decided to, upon finding out that my mom had her fingers somehow in my case, even though she ought not have had my fingers in my case because I was the employee of MTN, she rode that wave and made a decision to basically add insult into my injuries, where I was being suspended without cause from my job, facing dismissal. And they all decided to use my mom against me because they saw that my mother was irresponsible with me. How it is that my mother even was infiltrated into my whole case at MTN, they didn't understand. They did not know how it got there, but they were happy to use it. That's just what happens in the black community. The moment they see that your sister got a bone to pick with you, they will ride it and, you know, divide and conquer. That's what's good. Yeah. If at all you've got a rival, if you've got somebody that you are competing with, you will use anything at all, especially if that person is very strong, to get to them. And so everybody gets to black people through black people. And the rest of the country gets to black people through black people. They look at our defeatism and they use it. So as a black person, you have got to put a guard up around you, put a shield around your body so fortified that no one can bring you in your own individual capacity low. Because the moment you have any weakness, the moment there is any kind of a hole in your bucket, the moment there is even one perforation from your bucket, the whole world that is competing with you is going to use it. Do you understand? They're going to use it. And in the black community, the perforations in our buckets, the things that cause our buckets to leak, is other black people. So when you are living in a country that has got a majority of black people, and there is this level of abuse of black people by everyone using the defeatism of the black community, the whole country is in disarray. The whole country, it's Africa. This is South Africa. It is largely black. And so when you mess with the black community in a black country, you on that day are messing with the whole nation. So South Africa as a country is judged. South Africa as a country is dying because of its murder of black people, because of its desecration of blacks through blacks. So everybody else is under judgment. The thing that I was speaking about yesterday, with South Africa being like done with as a nation, God is using this defeatism against one another within the black community, and therefore the capitalism by everybody else that's not in the black community against the majority demographic in the country. That whole thing is literally laying South Africa as a country waste. It's destroying the whole country that is South Africa. It is destituting it, all of it. It is putting the whole land in the ground. Do you understand? And what it is that I am, it's starting to rain now, and when it rains, I get so distracted by how loud the rain is, but I will try to talk through it, okay? I will try to keep my peace and keep my cool all throughout it all, because it is what it is. I lost everything because black people are defeatist, and everybody noticed it. And as good as I am, as gifted as I am, as skilled as I am in so very many respects, I had, of course, many people who are competing with me. I had many people who were competing with me academically. I had many people who were competing with me professionally. I had many people competing with me in a lot of things like marriage, getting husbands, family, acquisitions, etc. I had people competing with me on just about anything at all that I could do from various spheres of my life. And with that competitiveness, upon them making an observation of the incendiary character of my people, my family especially, they used it. It was like, I've always wanted to basically bankrupt Karabo or get rid of her. I've always wanted to remove Karabo from the scene, and this is my shot. It is not only those that are outside of the black community that do this to us, it's other black people. When other black people make an observation of the way that their friend is being treated, they ride it. So my former friends rode the wave of my family's insensitivity towards me. My colleagues rode the wave. Black people, other black people. I had, like, Wits University rode the wave of what under heaven it is that black people did to me. And so I could not come up for air. I couldn't stand. So that's a country that is taking some of its best people and destroying them because they're making an observation that they were born wrong. They were born in an ecosystem that is incredibly defeatist. So the devastation of the black community in South Africa is the devastation of South Africa. Therefore, all these other people standing in silos, imaginative of the fact that this thing is a going concern and it can continue to be proliferated, are naive. Because you cannot massacre the black community in a black country and not have the whole country fall apart. It's Africa. It's not America. It's not even Europe. It's Africa. You cannot decimate black people in Africa and expect your country to stand. So everybody that has got a standoffish mindset where I'm concerned is just shooting themselves in the foot. You're going to destroy enough black people until there is such a big dent in the country. Given our sheer numbers, we literally are the majority of the population of this country. Just because of our sheer numbers alone, the economy is going to suffocate, the country's going to fall into disarray, and there will be a civil war, the proportions of which will never have been ever heard before in this country. That's what we're headed for. And it will all be because of everybody's insistence of using black people's incendiary activity against each other, against them. So because you refuse to correct what it is that black people are doing, not only that, because you also insist on capitalizing on what it is that black people do to each other, everybody else is essentially kind of in a bad bunch. Everybody is in a rut. Everybody is going to have a bad day tomorrow because they are missing in a country that is full of black people, majority black people with black people. Is that basic? South Africa is literally going to get judged because of the apathy towards black people. It's going to fall as a country, like the comprehensiveness of it all. It will fall because of causing black people to fall. And this will have been sparked by competitiveness in multiple arenas that then caused people to capitalize on that. Yeah. So my family members, what they are, as evil as they are, they cannot and definitely are not some kind of a skewed or a biased sample that therefore cannot be used to accurately represent an entire country. They can. My family's makeup is similar to the makeup of many black families in South Africa. Black race of which is the majority of South Africa. Let's just put that out there. We make up a big percentage of this country, and so because we make up a big percentage of this country, it is quite a big percentage of people that are walking in this ridiculousness. Like, my family is full of witches. Almost everybody is practicing after they get to a certain age, and it is near on guaranteed that by the time kids in my family get to perhaps the age of 25, 6, when they start to graduate to, a professional young adulthood, they start to dabble with witchcraft. It's almost inevitable. It's like a calling. A very evil one. They get pursued by it, and even if you like umuntu agafanelwe a certain thing, and even if there was a time back in the day when they spoke about it very negatively, they nonetheless glide in it. My family members, by the time they get to the age of, let's round it off to the nearest 10, 30. By the time they get to 30, they've dabbled. They've done some kind of witchcraft. Literally, almost without fail. Oh, there are very negligible cases of people that have kept their hands pure. Almost everybody by the age of 30 has used witchcraft. And I only use the word almost because it's fair to use the word almost. I'm tempted to say all. Only reason I did not end up using sorcery is because I gave my life before I could to Jesus. I got born again at 26 and a half. But if I had not gotten saved, I would very highly likely have inevitably used witchcraft in some way or form. Why? Because I'm black. And the black community loves to slap each other with witchcraft. They're always wearing the that they literally ram into people's faces. Black people cannot stand other black people being okay. And so in a crew of friends, you are going to be basically dealing with one girl that's going to decide. I had that in my crew of friends from high school. One of them made a decision that she's going to go and pursue her career as a chartered accountant, while the rest of us are going to struggle to be okay in life. My former best friend, her would-be husband, slowed down her career so that he would look appropriate next to her, given that he was struggling in business and he was dating a woman that was studying and was inevitably on a skyrocket trajectory upward, and she was going to do really well in her career, and so he slowed it down. But her would-be husband, that now today is her husband, was not her only afflictor. She also then got come up against by some chick that wanted to be the most successful out of all of the crew of girlfriends, and before any of us could do anything, she had already determined our destinies. One of my friends, former friends from high school, bewitched all of us. There were 7 of us. She bewitched all 6 of us to always be behind her in life. So my former best friend's career was thwarted first by her would-be husband and then this chick. So a double whammy slapped her. Do you understand? The rest of them all put witchcraft on me. What ultimately gets a person to a point where they are gonna bewitch everybody? Well, what makes a person get there? It's embitterment. When you are dancing, prancing, hopping up and down through life, and then you get met with blockages, with chock-a-blocks, that's when you start to consult sangomas, and that's when you also start to want everybody else to be in a bad knot like you. Misery loves a company. So we're using the example of my former best friend. She had her future husband not only bewitch her prospects for a career, slowing it down, he also insisted that she stay with him even though she wanted to leave him. So she was already blocked from getting the romance that she desired, and she was also blocked from getting the career that she desired. Upon meeting with chock-a-blocks and having a slow growth of career and a slow and basically an unloving a situation that she didn't want to be in romantically, that she was trapped in by pregnancy, she then, once she was sitting around with a baby in a career that was not moving as fast as she would have loved it to move, she then looked at everybody else. She looked at me, and she looked at let me talk about me in particular, the spells that I know that she cast on me. She came against my prospects, especially in marriage. She did not necessarily gun for my career. Not initially anyway, she ultimately did. But first she came for me with love. Do you understand? Because she was miserable. And misery loves company. So she wanted to be able to relate in the grain of settling that she was in with someone that she was on the come up with, both of whom were ambitious for certain outcomes in life. And she had already experienced a loss of some of her dreams. And so she wanted somebody to join her in that grain. And so she bewitched me and my prospects for marriage. Kept on getting dreams about her standing in the way of every guy that would pursue me because she wanted me to be regressed. But that witchcraft was a byproduct of some other people's witchcraft. It was a byproduct of the sorcery of the chartered accountant and also the byproduct of the sorcery of the boyfriend. And the things that the rut that she was put in by both people made her insist on putting me in a rut. The same thing is also true of another one of my friends from high school, where it is that a man that she married messed her up so badly that she then was like, misery loves company, and then she decided that she's gonna mess with the marriage prospects, I believe, of everybody, but I certainly have gotten experience of my own sorrow at her hands. Do you understand what I'm saying? It's people that would have left witchcraft alone. They wouldn't have even bothered to visit a sangoma. They would not have frequented the premises of these little witches to ask for anything at all. If at all they were left to thrive. If they were left alone, if they were not manipulated spiritually, they would have been okay. If my former best friend had been left to basically leave a man she had desperate need of leaving, and if at all my friend was left to grow like this chick that bewitched all of our careers, this friend of mine, let me tell you what this chick did, okay? This friend of mine, how she affected my former best friend. There was a time when my former best friend, albeit being a graduate from just so you can understand the height of sorcery, that this one girl, after she got her degree and was basically studying now towards her chartered accountancy, she made a decision that she's going to be not the only one successful, but the most successful. Her intention was not to impoverish everybody to my level. What I am is an anomaly that nobody expected to happen, because God saw it fit to basically make me what appears to be an extreme case of cursedness, that they might all look really bad. but I'm not cursed. I'm blessed. I can't be cursed. I am in Christ. I can't say that enough. But let's just get straight back to the point again. My friend, all right, my former best friend, this chick, when she was en route getting her CA, made a decision that all of us are gonna sit around, okay? Not sit around, but be behind her. We're gonna be tails to her, right? And she wasn't even the smartest. If anything, she was quite average in comparison to everybody else, but she wanted to be the only one to flying like a bird. Anyway, whatever, right? So this chartered accountant future chick, right? What she did, there was a time when my former best friend was, and at this stage I was born again, right? I had just gotten saved, all right? She had gotten some kind of an internship, like a graduate program where she gained experience after getting her Bachelor of Accounting degree from Wits University, and she was studying further to get, I guess, either her CA or CFA or whatever she wanted, okay? So when you have got that kind of qualification and you also manage to make it into a graduate program, it's highly unlikely, as that kind of a graduate from that kind of a university, Wits, to be ignored when you are looking for a job. It's highly unlikely because it is rare, first and foremost, and it was at the time anyway a very highly sought after skill. So to be ignored and to find yourself unemployed for any amount of time is anomalous. But that happened to my friend, and she had to end up working in KZN in some faraway bundu that she did not like, just to make sure that she gains enough experience, do you understand, in order to basically come back to Johannesburg again. The settle of the job in some other province, in some bundu of KwaZulu-Natal, it was not even central Durban. Remember what I said the other day, about wanting to stay in Johannesburg. There was a time when my mom had not paid my fees and I had to leave school, blah blah, all that jazz, yeah. And how it is that I did not want to leave Johannesburg because it is the economic center or hub of it's the largest economy in South Africa, and if at all you want a competitive salary that is going to be the highest in the land, you have to get a job in South Africa, because according to pay scale and according to, I guess, national statistics, South African salaries, Johannesburg, Gauteng salaries, given that we have the largest economy, excel above those of other major cities in the country like Cape Town and Durban, and of course they excel loftily above the non-major cities. Like if you are in a Plazi, a Bundu, you are very highly likely to be earning a negligible salary in comparison to a person with the same job in Johannesburg. Yeah, so this chick set my former best friend up for failure in that she took her out of Johannesburg and put her, never mind a major city, but far away from the major city of that province. She was made to live in KwaZulu-Natal for a season, not even in Durban, and it was, like I said, a plazi, just to keep working. And she was miserable there. She did not like her job. They gave her a house and everything, but she really didn't like it, and she had to use that to springboard herself up, to boost herself in order to come back to Johannesburg. She ultimately did come back to Johannesburg, but the season of time of unemployment was so long, guys, that she was busy getting phone calls from creditors and from creditors, yeah, on some, hey, you better pay us or we're gonna put you on the credit bureau. Now, she was a person that was headed for either CFA or CA, either a chartered accountant or certified financial analyst. And in the financial services industry, even though it is still unconstitutional, I don't know why they're not listening to the law of the country, if at all you find yourself for any reason at all being a financial services professional on the credit bureau, it's over for you. It's over. Like this chick, my friend, hard and fast, and she nearly lost her career. She would have had to first get off the credit bureau before she would successfully interview for any job in the financial services industry as a financial graduate. For crying out loud. So this chick was sitting at home for like almost a year, if not longer than a year. And it was her sitting down at home that upon us talking on the phone, I came to learn that, she's having to make deals and everything, right, with like her debtors, her creditors, sorry, people that she owes money on some, please don't put me in the credit bureau, I will pay you this month, I will pay you this that month. Her family was trying to help along, but nobody had all that money to be able to help her along, I guess, as well as she needed. And again, that should have been evidence of the fact that she should have left that man that she was with, because as a man, when your woman is in that position, she should not have to face loss of her career. Why wasn't he able to pay off all of her debts during the time of her downtime? He was literally trying to sabotage her career too, acting like he doesn't have the money. So I stepped up. I was already born again at that stage. I'd already given my life over to Jesus. So I guess that's why that little rando spells did not really work on me. That's why I'm not under a curse. God just saw it fit to put me in this position for such a time as this. I called her, I was like, my friend, I will give you this much money every single month and you don't have to ever pay me back again. And this is going to enable you to pay some of your debts, because I understand that being a financial professional, you are going to basically be ruined if you find yourself on the credit bureau. You're gonna apply at a Rand Merchant Bank, your FNB, you're gonna apply at Investec, you're going to apply at like a consultancy or whatever. You're gonna apply at KPMG, at PricewaterhouseCoopers, and they're gonna do a credit check on you, and they're gonna be like, this chick is only 26. She's only 26, for crying out loud, and she is already on the credit bureau. We cannot have financial services professionals that are financially irresponsible to a point of ending up on the credit bureau. So this chick set up my friend for failure. She amazingly, miraculously survived. I guess that's what happens when you have somebody standing in the gap for you. I used to pray for her every day to get a job, and I also basically parted ways with something like 2,000 rands of my own salary every month to make sure that wherever it is, so she does not get put on the credit bureau. And in that same time, that's when she agreed, I guess, to relocate, to move out of Johannesburg. Initially, she was not prepared to relocate for the same reasons I wasn't prepared to relocate, but she ultimately landed a job in KwaZulu-Natal. And for her, it was like, it's either that or I find myself just perpetually stranded on the credit bureau as a financial professional. She nearly destroyed my former best friend's career. That other one, the first one, that wanted to be the most successful one out of all of us, she nearly derailed my former best friend's entire career. If she had at all gotten on the credit bureau, she was going to struggle to get successfully interviewed for a job. She was going, like the recruitment agencies that would have called her up based on her CV, based on her skills, based on her academia, based on her degree. They would have called her, can we please come and see you? Can you see us? And they were going to do a credit check and not call her again. They were going to do a credit check and not call her again, guys. So that's why she moved to KwaZulu-Natal. That salvaged her, praise the Lord. She ended up coming back to Johannesburg, but the grain she was stranded in, and again, being all the way in KwaZulu-Natal, living by yourself, away from everyone you love, everything you know, and it's a plaza, you are going to be lonely. And so a man that you desperately want to leave, a man that you don't want to be with, a man you don't want to stay with in a relationship, is going to be the only person traveling kilometers upon kilometers across provinces to see you. So you're going to feel like he's been there for me, he has basically stood by my side. That guy had to be left. Only busy roaming the streets with 5 different baby mamas, dealing with a woman that's never had children, never been married. She needed a clean slate. That's what that random chick did. So she was set up for failure concerning romance very early, and she was set up for failure concerning career. And those failures are what basically raised in her a spirit of bitterness sufficient enough for her to then go on right ahead and afflict her best friend. She came at me with a flying kick because while there was a time when we both aspired for similar things, now she had already lost some of those dreams and I was still going to grab mine. And so she came at me. I don't know who else she came at. Usually witches don't have one victim, but I can only speak of what it is that she did to me. The chick Ole, bewitching all of us to make sure we don't get anyway. God exposed her in light of showing me who else she bewitched, because she literally came at the whole crew of girlfriends. And one of the girls that she came against was so genius that she was like always in the top 10 on the honors roll at school, for crying out loud. And she came against that, and she was average. She was average. That's what under heaven happened. But the one that was always on the top 10, Lena decided randomly because she belonged to a cult. She was a Jehovah's Witness. But what I'm trying to explain to you guys is that witches, they like artificial intelligence that way. They put themselves in positions of honor and grandiosity above people who ought to have done much better than them, and so that they can come out looking really great on the other side. But they don't have the true talent, the true skill. And so therefore those who are true geniuses in society are swept under the rug by people who are literally mediocre. And when you don't have a barometer to compare them by, you literally won't know that a country's missing something. So the country does not know that it's missing me. It also does not know that it's missing the top 10 chick in the school. The country doesn't know that it's missing people. It doesn't know, because there's no barometer by which to compare the losses. Do you understand? That's what y'all need to understand. People make a decision that I'm going to be the only one successful, even though they are brutally mediocre, and they cause actually excellent people to be buried, disappear off the face of the country. For crying out loud, who in the world continues to proliferate rubbish of that nature? Who lives in a land like that? So my family member, so now that I've explained that whole dynamic with my former best friend and what happened to her and what was the root cause of even her inclination towards sorcery, it was other black people. It was the ridiculousness in the black community, where people decide, basically, you know, God likes to call them planners of other people's plans. He calls witches planners of other people's plans. Like, they make plans for other people. They plan for other people to walk in a stead that they did not sign up for. They plan for other people to do ABC, to marry certain people. A man that puts korobela on you is planning your wedding on your behalf to him, when you can't make a plan to marry a certain kind of man. You want a godly man. You want a man that is this tall. You want a man that has these interests. Yeah, but the guys, the korobela person rather plans that you're going to marry him, whether or not you like it. They are planning other people's plans. And the level of chaos around a person, therefore, who has had which spells cast around them, is such that it causes them to end up embittered, because everything that they are trying to acquire in life, everything that they're vying for in life, it just somehow reaches a chock-a-block. And you find yourself unable to get it. But remember, you tend to hang out with like-minded people, and so if at all you all have the same ambitions when you were all in high school. Do you understand what I'm saying? And then all of a sudden you are displaced from your dreams by witchcraft. You're then going to look at everybody else around you on the left and on the right. Do you understand? And you're going to be like, I'm not going to be the only one that did not get what we all wanted to get together. I'm not going to be the only dropout at varsity, so I'm going to bewitch you to also drop out. I'm not going to be, etc. They manipulate people's outcomes, and so they cause people to sin. According to the scriptures, it would be better if a millstone were tied around the neck of a person, and that person be thrown into the ocean, than for them to face God in the judgment if they cause any of these little ones of mine to sin. So in other words, when people cause sin, they are in a far worse state than everybody else around, right? The person who sows discord between brothers, the Bible also says offenses will come. So in other words, sins, offenses, mistreatment, calloused behavior will come. But woe to the man through whom those offenses come. When a person has been the initial spark in a dry, arid field full of grass, when they're the first spark that causes an inferno, the inferno must come according to the Bible. The fields must burn. People will sin, but woe to the man that started that spark. Woe to the one through whom these sins have commenced. So basically, that random chartered accountant from my high school that caused all of my other friends to sin, woe to her. Offenses came, they sinned, but woe to the man through whom these offenses came. She is basically facing a grander torment in hell than all of them combined. All of my friends in high school cast spells on me, but woe to that one who initiated the sorcery of other people, where you will chock a block or prevent a person from doing something, and upon them being disquieted by their inability to achieve their dreams, then getting so bitter that they will then become witches. Woe to you. If at all you're the person that caused a person that would never have dabbled with witchcraft, if you are the person that caused them to finally consult a sangoma, woe to you. One of my friends also was caused to get into witchcraft because of a horrible man, an ex-husband that ransacked her life so badly, embittered her so terribly, that I guess woe to that man that caused my friend to be that bitter to a point of using witchcraft on me. She was in misery, and she wanted me to be a divorcee too. She wanted me to also be unlucky in love, whatever that even means. She also wanted me to hit brick walls in that regard, in the romantic field. And so she bewitched. I don't even think it was just me. I think it was everybody. But like I said, the one that God is a lot offended with, very offended with, is the CA that messed with everybody. She's the one that God showed me everyone that she bewitched, because all the other of my friends, God did not show me what they did to each other, if at all anything. He rather showed me what they did to me, because I guess I was a person of interest in that regard. I was a stakeholder of their sorcery, so he showed me what they did to me, but not what they did to each other. But witches very rarely ever have one victim, so I don't know what they did to each other, except for that one, because she did it in one spell, in one sitting. She visited a sangoma and said, all my friends from high school, go fela bona. They will not be anything in comparison to me. I am going to be the most successful one, for crying out loud. And that spell, I saw it working in my former best friend. And if that chick did not have anybody standing in the gap for her that was actually truly saved, I don't know where she would be today. I was already newly saved after when she started to struggle to have a way with her future. And so therefore I was able to successfully stand in the gap for her, help her along, and then she bounced back again. But then later on she ended up turning to sorcery too. So the friend that I had, everybody, the one that bewitched everyone, my former best, basically my whole crew of friends from high school, all belonged to families in South Africa. They all belonged to families in this country, all right? And so basically, since all of them are clearly witches, from what God showed me, all of them kebaloi, do you understand? All of them are witches. and they belong to families. And so therefore, it evidences that in the black community in particular, there is such a high percentage of witchcraft involvement by people. There is such a high percentage of, no, that just went too dark. There is such a high percentage of people practicing witchcraft in the black community that in any family at any given time, you would likely be dealing with like a good 70 to 80% of the members therein involved in some kind of sorcery. Why would that even be true? Look at my friends, right? This rain is going to distract me and make me very, very, very uncomfortable to speak because it's so loud, but I will try to articulate myself above it, okay? One of the biggest reasons why rain is so destructive to my speeches is because of this corrugated iron roof that is so loud when rain lands on it that I can't even hear myself think. But I hope to be able to maintain my thoughts anyway, and I hope the rain slows down just to enable me to finish this discussion so that I can get my thoughts out fully and wrap my argument in an inference that is understandable by you. Okay, right, what was I talking about? Yes, all of my friends from high school, they belonged to families, right? And in the black community, just based on the sample representation that is my own family, a good 70 to 80% of people in families are practicing witchcraft. And you know the saying, charity begins at home? Well, the opposite is also true. I like to say that witchcraft is a crime of passion. In other words, people who commit witchcraft tend to bewitch people they love. They tend to bewitch people they admire, people they look up to. It's not usually just random strangers around, unless they are running a coven and unless they're psychopaths. Usually witches will target people they love. So who are the people that you love the most? It is your brother, it's your mother, it's your sister, you get my point. It's your boyfriend. It's people that are closest to you. It is people that you hold very dearly to your heart. Do you understand? Whew. This rain is gonna distract me, but I'm gonna try to talk over it. I would love to be able to speak without raising my voice very high. But anyway, whatever. Witchcraft is, like I said, a crime of passion. So they tend to focus on people that they do love. Meaning that they, of course, focus their energies on family members and friends and close people like boyfriends, you know, colleagues that they look up to or are always talking with, laughing with in the office. Witches rarely ever target strangers at a distance. I have had a few crazy ladies and men bewitch me from a distance that didn't know me, but they're a very small number. Like I said, there will always be outliers in society that do crazy things, and so people who bewitch out of the blue, people that are there at a distance, but they are not many. They don't make up the majority of witches. The majority of witches that will come up against you are in your family. They're in your friendship circle. They are sleeping with you at night. They're your husband. They are your boyfriend. They are your colleague that you're always working closely with in the projects at work. It's people that see you every single day, that talk with you, that pass you pleasantries, that break bread with you. They will be the ones to afflict you. So if those friends of mine could put witchcraft on me since I was their friend, then you can near on with accurate hand-to-glove success apply what they did to me to their own families. My friend was jealous of my prosperity, for marriage, for love, for all that which I wanted. There is no way, therefore, that she did not come up against her sisters likely. There is no way that she did not come up against other of our friends who were single. She did not want to see anybody happy in love that was close to her. She didn't want to have to cry when she sees other people do well in that area. So it's likely that she might have also cast spells on her sisters. She had two sisters. I don't know if she did, but it's likely. I'm using probabilities over here. The one, for instance, that got married in a cult, she came against my prospects for marriage and a career because she had to stop working. Because of the cult. They made her knock door to door as a Jehovah's Witness while she had like a whole financial degree, mathematics degree from university. She was an academic. She was supposed to thrive and get a career, but they made her a stay-at-home Jehovah's Witness wife. So she became embittered and wanted me to basically have her fate. She wanted me to be a stay-at-home wife to some dude in a cult that married me off to him that I don't even love. So it is usually affliction and compromise settling that causes these people to in and of themselves turn to sorcery. And then the one with Jehovah's Witness, this stuff didn't suit her. I don't know. There is no friend of mine, guys. No one in my life looked like the kind of person that would consult a sangoma. I had another friend who was actually the cousin of my former best friend, strangely, but we met in different ecosystems. I met her when I was working at MTN. She and I used to talk all the time about what we wanted in men, and she was older than me by like 3 years. But when I met her, we were both still single, waiting, I guess, for husbands and stuff. Well, no, we were both dating, but we were single in the sense that we were not married yet. She broke up, just like I broke up with my ex-boyfriend, with the guy that she was with for very many years. That guy only busy ammo user, not use, what's this? He was toggling 2 girls at the same time. He was dating her and somebody else anyway, so it was great that she broke up with him. Right, and after they broke up, we were even more solidly convicted that the two of us we're not gonna have children out of wedlock. None of us are gonna have children out of wedlock. These men must marry us first. Ain't no man ever gonna convince me to give him a baby. Those are the conversations we used to always have. She met some dude that pressurized her into giving him a baby. This guy was already a baby daddy of 1. He already had a baby mama. He never made an honest woman, and she could not see that as a warning sign. He's the kind of guy that makes a baby and leaves. Do you understand? And this guy gave her so much pressure. He was so wealthy that he could have afforded to take out Lobola real fast. He could have afforded to marry her really quickly. It would not have taken much. But instead, he insisted that, he was such a big baby that would throw his toys out the cart. He basically emotionally manipulated my friend into finally giving him a child. I believe that guy also used witchcraft on her because she literally lost her mind when she was with him. Her family didn't even like him. Yeah, after giving him the first child, you would imagine that Lobola now would finally start happening. No, it didn't happen. She gave him a second child. This guy bought her when she was heavily pregnant with, I don't know if it was a first or a second pregnancy. He bought her some big SUV, some big chunky car. And I'm like, you bought a woman a car, an expensive car, instead of take out Lobola. You know when a man is that narcissistic and that manipulative, when he is so abusive, that he would show a woman that I can afford to take out Lobola, but I just don't want to. You're just gonna give me babies. What the heck? This man already had a baby by some other woman. My friend should have stuck to her guns if she loved him that much, that you will marry me first or I'm getting out of this. But she stuck around, gave him 2 babies, and all she got instead of Lobola was a car. Well, the same friend, the ambitions we had in that we were not gonna give husbands, boyfriends, babies before marriage. She, of course, abandoned that dream, and now she was looking at me, who was still bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, waiting on better. Waiting to marry my husband, then only have a baby. She was miserable in a union with a man that tricked her. Do you understand? And so she turned to witchcraft. She bewitched me. She bewitched my prospects for marriage. I had a dream where she had abandoned the baby that she gave that guy at the corner of a hospital, because she was suffering from postpartum depression. She didn't even want her baby, and she was shoving that baby down my throat on some, you take care of it. In other words, in that dream, she was suggesting, you have a child with some boyfriend, and then you and I can be the same again. So basically setting a woman up for failure, the way that you fell apart. That man bewitched my friend so that she would become namby-pamby and docile to suggestion of that nature. When she finally realized that she was trapped, she then got so embittered that she came back at me. I'm trying to make a point here. That witchcraft begets witchcraft. That witches beget more witches. They put people in such bad straits. They put people in such a bad corner. They essentially incarcerate people in stranded lives until, in order to get out or in order to feel a sense of camaraderie with their ecosystem, they then bewitch everybody else around so they won't be the only ones that are fallen in a grain of nothingness, in a grain of basically incarceration. That's what in the world under heaven was going on here. So those are 2 cases that I have told you of 2 of my very good friends now turned mortal enemies, essentially, due to the fact that somebody bewitched them first and then they ended up bewitching me. Witchcraft begets witchcraft. So if enough black people who are so defeatist against each other bewitch black people, you are then gonna beget more black witches. The growth of witchcraft in South Africa has happened because of people finding themselves in dire straits. People finding themselves chock-a-blocked, people finding themselves unable to move, and people also finding themselves in ecosystems they never signed up for. Dreams and visions that they had when they were children, when they were younger, were shattered in a matter of months after meeting certain people, and upon their dreams being squandered just like that by some random thief on the periphery of them that calls themselves a colleague or a sister or a mother or a brother, a friend, or a classmate. Upon being decimated by people on their periphery, then in and of themselves become decimators. Their sorcery begets more sorcery. They then end up bewitching everybody else because they were bewitched, and they don't even know that their reaction to bewitch is frankly from witchcraft. They think they just made mistakes. They think they just dropped the ball on their dreams. They think they made a decision to just give some guy a baby even though she wanted to have children only once married. They think that they married a man because it's what they wanted to do. And even though at the time they felt like they were dumb and the wrong voices were in their heads, the wrong people were in the ear, they then imagined that thanks to the mistakes that I made, unawares to themselves that it was not a mistake they would have walked in if it was not for spiritual manipulation. They don't know that they were made witches by other people bewitching them. So that's how then you find yourself having the proliferation of a pathogen, the growth of a bug, do you understand, that is unfettered with no antibiotic in the black community, where families grow from being one witch to like 10 cousins now are doing the stuff, 15 next year, 25 family members the year thereafter. And by the time 5-10 years has progressed, you have got Medea's family reunion of witches. It's more like a coven, where an entire family is now a coven. My own mother was made a witch by her sister, who bewitched her when she was still a teenager. They were still both teenagers. She was older than my mom by a year. And because of all of the chock-a-blocks that my mom met later on in life because of her sister, my mother became embittered and started bewitching everything and everyone around her, her friends, etc. blah blah. The witchcraft of my mom's sister is what caused her to end up married to my dad at all. My dad was the absolute wrong fit. He was a wicked man, a horrible guy. He was one of those dogs that are busy sleeping around all over the show. That was my dad. He did not make sense for my mom even in the slightest, and my mom settled for him. And their marriage was also there was a groove put in it. There was a discord sown in a marriage with a man that was already a loose cannon. He was already a loose cannon, and then more witchcraft was put on both him and my mom. My dad was never into witchcraft, but he was just a worthless guy. He was not the kind of man that any woman would want to end up with. He was never serious with anything or anyone. He was entirely selfish. He could never focus on anyone but himself. That was my dad. So she was made to marry my dad. And then after marrying my dad and my mom were then put under a spell in their marriage. It sowed discord in their union so early that they were fighting literally from the time that they tied the knot. By the time that I was made, there was so much war in that marriage, and they got divorced when I was just 5 years old. My older sister and I are separated by 2 years, a gap in between us. And when she was made, there was somewhat tranquility and peace, but by the time I was made, there was war, and there was no way that marriage could continue to linger. So they got divorced ultimately, right? When my mom was maybe 31, 32. That's what's good. My mother, being 31, 32 and not born again, unsaved, and being as gorgeous as she was. If you think I'm pretty, understand I ain't got jack on my mom. Do you understand? She was far more beautiful even than me. She was one of those hard knock yellow bones, Ezi Hectiki, that every guy was trying to get with, alright? That was my mom. Yeah. How in the world, as a 31-year-old, I'm 39 right now, my genes are from my mom. This anti-aging thing that I got going is from my mom. How in the world, as a 31